It's been a long time since we've been here at The Living Flip. If you're new to this series, this house was bought by my daughter and my son-in-law in 2019, I think September 2019, and right before COVID. So we used the entire COVID quarantine to renovate this entire house. And it's a huge undertaking, and we've got over 50 episodes in this series. So in today's episode, we are going to show how to install an outside outlet like this. It is code compliant, GFCI protected, and I installed a whole new circuit with it. So I'm going to show you how to do that coming up. Once upon a time, a boy met a girl working for a mouse. They fell in love and realized they'd never own their own home working for the mouse. So they packed up a big truck and moved to New Jersey, lived in a basement to save money for a year, and bought a foreclosure to fix up while they lived there. This is their story. Whenever you want to add a new outlet, you need to decide if you're going to tap into an existing circuit or add a new one. They had an existing outlet in the garage that I could use, but I discovered a problem. Now this existing outlet is not a GFCI outlet, but I have a GFCI tester here, and I suspect, yeah, see, it's not popping, so that's not on a GFCI breaker. So technically this is a code violation. That's a shock hazard to have that in a garage. So, and the other trouble is that this outlet then goes through that conduit and runs over to another outlet over here, and that refrigerator is on that outlet. I'm actually going to eliminate this outlet, and that'll solve the problem about the GFCI. And then I'm going to add another outlet that's going to have a GFCI in it, and that's going to feed outside. They're fortunate to have their electric panel in the garage with plenty of room for a new circuit breaker. All right, to add the outside outlet, I bought this kit. First of all, you have to have an outdoor cover that something could be plugged into it and it's still watertight. That's what code requires these days. So that's why I got this. Plus it came with a GFCI outlet, which is for shock protection. So this is, and it has the outside box as well. So that's ready to go, but that's if you're just adding a circuit outside or adding a line outside. Inside, I'm actually going to take this GFCI and put it in this handy box on the inside. And then I'm going to run this is just a straight outlet. That one's going to be outside, but it'll be protected by this one. And I'm going to add a new circuit for this because I don't like the idea of tapping into their old circuits here. So this is easy for me to do because, you know, the panel is right there. So this is going to be a 20 amp circuit, and for a 20 amp circuit, I'm using 12 gauge wire. All right, so here you can see the setup. This is going to be outside. This is that outlet cover that is going to go over the plain outlet. Now, that is not going to be a GFCI outlet, but the GFCI outlet is going to be on the inside. And you can wire it so that outlet is protected by this one. So this will be a convenience outlet in the garage. That'll be outside for Christmas lights, things like that. And this box has 3 places where you can wire it from. So I'm going to actually bring the wire in from the back, and they give you these plugs, and those plugs make it watertight. 46 would be the middle, which is right here. Okay, and that's kind of hollow, and that's where the stud is. So that's good. So we'll drill the hole in from outside over there. About here. Okay, take this. And I see the hole. See that? I can get the wire through there, no problem. Okay, just pull about 6 inches out. Ooh, baby, just enough. Very nice. Now, what I'm doing to make sure that no water gets in through the house and no bugs and no anything else, I'm using this stuff. It's called duct seal compound, and it's a perfect kind of putty. It's waterproof, and I'm just going to take a nice wad of it and push it in that hole.
Some on the bottom, some on the top. Now, sealing the house, I'm not worried about the siding, because if water gets in behind the siding, it'll drip down through the bottom. That's not a big deal. I'm just worried about the house. And then, after I put this on, I will seal up the hole inside there as well. Now, before I put this on, I do need to put these plugs in here. And they keep it watertight through the top and the bottom. Before I cover that up, let me strip these. I use these nifty wire strippers here. Make it easy on me, one-handed. And then I'm going to just put this on here, and I'm going to drive 2 screws in these little tabs. And I'm using a good long exterior screw. You can see it's recycled, which is not a problem. Now this is the outlet that I'm going to put out here. Now this is not the GFCI outlet. And I'm going to put in the screws that I'm not going to use. That's always a good practice. Now, the ground wire I'm going to start with, that has to go on this green screw, but there's also a screw inside there. Should be able to see that inside there. So I have to put that around that ground screw. I'm going to just use my needle nose pliers. Okay, with a metal box, you're always going to have a grounding screw. You got to ground the box too. Now this one's a little bit short, but I'm going to see if I can make it work. It's going to be down the bottom here. So I'll put that on last, and then we'll just push it in. Now, I have to put a little bit of a loop on each one of these, a little hook. And so the white's going to be on this side, and I'm always going to loop it in the direction that I'm going to tighten the screw. So that's the hook. Put it around the screw and tighten it down. Could there be any more noise around this neighborhood? People are busy on Saturday, and you always want to make sure that the insulation is not underneath the screw. And I'm going to do the same thing with the black, but I'm going to hook it in the other direction so that it goes around the top of the screw. All right, now before I close that up, I'm going to put more of that duct seal in the hole in the back of the box, and that'll seal the box. Okay, that's good. So all I'm going to do is make a loop with this ground wire and put this on as well. Now, like I said, that's a little short, but I'm going to make it the way it is. Okay, this box cover goes on the screws. There's little slots here. And so I got to put that in like that, and then I'm going to tighten those screws down. Now, it can also go in either orientation, either like this or like this. If I wanted to switch it, I'd have to take this pin out of here and put it in this side. And the other thing is that it needs to be open at the bottom for extension cords or anything else you want to plug in, so this little gate comes out. Now remember, this is not a GFCI outlet, so this is not suitable for outside use unless you protect it some other way, and that's what we're going to do inside. Alright, this wire's coming in through the bottom, and this one is going to come in through the back, and that's going to go right like so. This is where the GFCI is going to be installed, and the GFCI has two, I guess, sets of screws. The silver screw is the one that's going to get the white wire, and the brass screw gets the black wire, all right, and the green gets the ground. But there's a load side and there's a line side. So the line side is the one that comes from the circuit breaker. The load side is the one that goes outside. And that's how this GFCI, will protect the outlet outside. And there's a strip gauge on the back of this, and I stripped this one a little bit too long. The rest of them are good. Okay, now this is a back wire device. You can see there are holes behind the screws. I don't have to do any loops. So I'm going to take the wires and they're going to slide right in like this. But first I'm going to deal with the grounds. Now, there's only one ground screw on here, and there's only one place for the wire to be connected to it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little device. I'm going to use this special wire nut, which actually lets this wire come through it. So I'm going to attach these two together, and then I'm going to put that wire nut on there. Now this is a special grounding wire connector, they call it. Now because this is a plastic box, I don't have to worry about a ground screw. I don't have to ground the box. So that's fine. Now I'm good there. And I'm going to install it in this orientation. So the first thing I'm going to connect is the ground screw here.
When wiring a GFCI, it's very important to know the line from the load. The line is always the wire coming from the direction of the electric panel. The load goes to any other devices that need to be protected by this GFCI. If the test button on the GFCI doesn't work after installation, double check that you didn't reverse the line in the load.
Alright, so the way that I wired this up is this is the line side. So this is the wire that comes from the circuit breaker, that's this one. And this is the load side, that's the wire that goes outside. So that's all I needed to worry about. And we should be good to go. Now I just got to make them all fit in here.
And that proved to be an issue for me because the box wasn't deep enough. Let's fast forward.
So what I wound up doing was changing this over to a press-in connector, and you can see all three wires are pushed in all the way, and I did that with a pigtail, and I'm going to connect the pigtail here on the outlet, and that should be much flatter, and I'll be able to fit it up in the corner of this box and push it all back together. Okay, that's that. Now the next is just to run this and put it in the box, the circuit panel. Alright, so I ran the wire over from the outlet under here, and I'm going to bring it into the breaker panel. Now before I do that, I want to turn all the electric off in the house. And the way that I like to do that is I'm not going to touch the main breaker just yet. I'm going to turn all the branch circuits off first, and then I'm going to throw the main breaker off. And now I can open the panel safely. This part is probably the most frightening to most people. And the wire's going to come in from the bottom here. And the one side, you can see this silver thing right here is the neutral bus. That's where all the white wires are connected. And on the left side, that's the grounding bus. That's where all the ground wires are connected. And then these two plates in the middle, that's what's hot, okay? And this is the circuit breaker, and when I wire it up, I'm going to pop the circuit breaker onto that grid, and that's going to pass electricity through this breaker down that wire to the outlet. So it's really pretty straightforward. I always recommend turning off all the power in the panel so that otherwise these two plates here would be hot and live, and if I touch them with any wires or my screwdriver, I could get electrocuted. So we don't want that. Make it as good and tight as you can. Now for the breaker, I am going to put it in this empty slot right here. So I need to bring that wire up right around here. Okay, tight as you can, then wiggle it and tighten it again. Okay, now this goes in from the back. There's a little clip here that it sits on. And then it pops onto the front. It just slides right on. And that's how it has to be. Got to make space for the new circuit breaker. Really on there good, isn't it? There we go. Perfect. Okay, now to turn it back on, I'm going to turn on the main and then throw each of the circuits that we use. And so let's test the outlet. All right, so let's put this on first. And there is an indicator light here. I do see 2 greens. 2 greens means it is wired correctly. And it works like that. And let's plug this in here too. And if I hit the GFCI button, it pops that way too. Good. Now let's check outside. Okay, outside, we do the same thing. Plug that in. It says that it is wired correctly. That's the green light there. And I'm going to hit GFCI. And I could hear it pop inside. And this power is now off. So this outlet is now ready for use. If you have any questions about installing an outside outlet or installing a new circuit in your circuit panel, just leave me a question down below and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and I will see you in the next one. Welcome home.
Be sure to subscribe and watch our new series, The Living Flip.
Ooh.
Look.
And that has 1 1/4
It's the little one. That's all I